Give it a sec for the pain to start this wreck right here. It ain't for the faint of heart.
This is my design process for the album cover project for my chosen hip-hop artist MF Doom and his album, Food. I began by listening to the album again to get a feel for the overall vibe and story it tells so that I can use this to inform my work later on. After this, I did a little bit more research behind MF Doom and his motivations behind this specific album. In this album, he draws a lot of inspiration from retro comic books and even samples old cartoons like Scooby-Doo and Fantastic Four and places them throughout the 15-track body of work. And obviously, as the title of the album suggests, he references a lot of different foods. I wanted to display all these things in my work. So, I gathered a bunch of images, colors, and text that I thought captured the vibe and put them together in a mood board to reflect upon. I then started to do some really rough sketches just to get all my ideas out onto paper. Once I had some good ideas, I chose a few to flesh out more into small refined sketches, which would guide me into a good direction for the experimentation phase. I actually ended up purchasing the MF Doom mask online, as you can see here, and used it throughout the experimentation phase, and I think it really enhanced the images and helped depict the MF Doom persona. I asked a close friend to model the mask for me, and in keeping with the food theme, we went to a local Hungry Jack's and also used his dining area to take photos. These portraits would serve as reference and also be used for manipulation in the following concepts. I wanted to capture the comic book / cartoon style that MF Doom depicts in this album. To do this, I used the filters within Photoshop to transform the images I took into a comic book style illustration with the halftones and grainy texture that's present within retro comics. This served as the basis of my artwork in Concept 1, with a manipulated photograph as the main focus. In Concept 2, a similar concept was explored but framed and given a speech bubble to emulate a panel in a comic book. For Concept 3, I wanted to try something completely different and do my own cartoon-like interpretation of MF Doom in the Food universe. I used a mix of Photoshop and Illustrator throughout this process as I found it easier to work with shapes and text in Illustrator and then putting it all together in Photoshop. Here you can see me using Illustrator to create one of the back cover concepts. For this concept, I wanted to emulate a retro / mid-century diner menu, giving a nod to the era that comic books became popular in. The song titles along with prices, which are actually the song durations, are written boldly with a mid-century inspired typeface. In the end, I chose to develop Concept 1 further, as I felt it was the strongest design. Its simple layout and color combination allowed for the most creative exploration after conceptualization. Here you can see me adding texture, speckles, and tiny details over the front and back covers just to give it an extra flair and make the artwork come to life. The purpose of this was to emphasize the retro comic book idea by giving the artwork a more worn and scratched look. I also experimented with different background colors but ultimately decided to stay with the black background. Once I was happy with the artwork, I began doing mockups of the finished covers. By using album templates I found online, I was able to give it a realistic look and present the covers in a nice way. For the middle of the vinyl, I used the same comic book effect that I used previously and applied it to a photo I took of the mask. I kept this design simple just to keep it consistent with the album covers. Lastly, using one of the other photos that I took with the same effect applied, I created a poster. I attempted to mimic a comic book cover for this poster by using different elements like the text boxes, price tags, and stickers. I think this poster successfully promotes the themes, styles, and inspiration that MF Doom displays in the album. Overall, I think I was able to consistently capture the vibe and message that the album portrays through my work. I really enjoyed this project. I had fun experimenting with the different concepts and even learned a bunch of new skills along the way. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed my work.
It's ugly, like look at you, it's a damn shame. Just remember all caps when you spell the man name.